Hey there, welcome to the REI Conversion Podcast, where each episode we discuss strategies and digital tools to help you launch, automate, and scale your real estate investing business. Learn how to run your investing business remotely, find out ways to automate your business to better utilize your time, and learn what other successful investors are implementing so you can get to the next step closer to your investing goals. And I'm your host and founder of REI Conversion, Jesse Kwong. Hey, how's it going? This is Jesse here from the REI Conversion Podcast. Today, I've got two special guests with me, both Pete and Anthony over from Landva4u.com. They run a company specialized in helping land investors get paired up with their team of VAs to help other land investors with their land investing process. So we're going to dive deep into things like managing, tools, and all sorts of things when it comes to VA specifically for land investing. And one of the great things is, and this is a bit of a shameless plug here, is that a lot of their VAs, in fact, their whole team knows the entire suite of REI Conversion. So that's REI Land List, REI Land Leads, and REI Pebble. They've been working with us. I've been training their team as well. I've gotten involved with their team. So I'm very excited to bring them onto the show to sort of talk about what it's like to be working with VAs, what it's like to work with their VAs. Not only that, but if you wanted to go on your own path of training your own VAs, what does that look like? When should you get started? Anyways, enjoy this podcast. I hope it's very impactful, valuable, and cheers. Enjoy the show. Hey, how's it going? We've got Pete and Anthony here from Landva4u. Guys, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great, Jesse. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for both you guys for joining me on this show. And we're going to talk a lot about managing a land VA, and that's where you guys really specialize in. That's essentially that's the company you guys run. First off, I want to ask you guys: you guys are both land investors, right?
We are. Yeah.
You guys are actively in the land space. You understand what the needs are, and give us a little background. Why? How did you guys sort of end up starting up Landva4u, and how did that sort of all come together?
Yeah, it started from the land business. As we went through and we kind of learned all the tasks that you need to complete to be successful in a land deal or in land deals and expand the businesses, we realized there was not one difficult task, quite frankly, but there are about 100 of them, not to exaggerate too much, that you need to kind of do and systematize and put into swim lanes or areas, right? And baskets. And we realized that, hey, if we're going to grow our business, we need VAs, to grow our business. And so we said, let's get them. The problem is that there's great people out there that want to help, but it's typically a side job, or they're trying it for a while, or they need to earn some money. It's not something that they say, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing for a long time. So you train them up, you spend the time, you build a relationship, you get the process, and you get it duplicated, and then boom, they leave you.
Yep.
So that's a kind of chink in the armor, right, Pete? That's like,
I'm sure everybody here has experienced that before, training somebody and then bloop, they're gone. And I've gone through that a handful of times myself here just recently. So I know exactly where you're coming from. Now, I want to dive a little bit more about what you just mentioned about processifying things. So how does a land investor evaluate actually what tasks need to be delegated? How would I know exactly what should be handed off to somebody else and what should be handled by myself? I'm a one-man band right now. I'm just getting started. So where do I start from? Who and how much should I be delegating to them?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the way I look at it is when I talk to people about VAs and the different things you can be doing, it always helps to look at the things that are really your pain points. What is it today that is something that is giving you stress or giving you a problem, things that you shouldn't be bothered with. Like if you think about whatever your business is, whether it's land investing or whatever it is, you have a core business of things that you're supposed to be doing. I mean, and generally it's generating revenue. So anything that is less directly associated with generating revenue is taking you off your game. So those are the kind of things you really want to focus on. What are those things, whether it be some sort of document management or research, things that you do on a regular basis that you think you're great at, but it's not really what your expertise is in. Those are the kind of things you want when you're looking for a VA. You want to get those going.
Right, right. And so when it comes to, delegating those kind of tasks, let's actually come, what are the common ones that you typically see when you're hiring, when you're, you know, lining up other land investors with VAs? What are those typical tasks? Like, let's say, what are let's say the top five kind of roles that you see a lot
Sure.
of land investors kind of needing a VA for?
There's two or three that are the most common, and then we can go to like the stage Bs, and one is marketing. Anything that has to be consistently and at a pretty good level, that's where people get bogged down. Either they spend too much time on it, or they don't want to spend that much time on it, and they won't spend the time on the sales portion or on building or perfect their swim lanes or their buckets, if you will. So marketing is number one. The consistency of it, the different areas you're going to market in, and avenues and media outlets. So marketing is by far the number one. Number two is actually building and curating the lists to mail to people to acquire the properties. That takes maybe a little technical help, a little expertise. Again, it has to be done consistently because that's the basis
Mhm.
for your mailings. Again, if you're not mailing, you can't acquire land, you can't sell land. So
Yeah.
I think that's it. And then the intake. The intake is a process. You have to build a relationship with the sellers. You have to decide if you want to buy it. There's the due
Mhm.
diligence.
Right.
There is all the paperwork behind the scenes, the deeds and, putting it into Pebble, putting it, and that kind of stuff. So as you do all that, that's a lot of individual steps that if you don't do it for a couple of days, a process that should take 5 to 10 business days can turn into a month and you can lose
Mhm.
sellers that way. So those are the top three. Pete, would you agree? Anything
No,
else
I would
that
definitely
pops up?
agree.
Yeah,
Due diligence is a great example because it's something that is so it's something that no one needs to become an expert in. You don't your revenue isn't based on how good you do due diligence. It can be something that's outsourced easily. So those are all the types of tasks that we want to focus on right away.
Right, right. So you guys obviously do a lot of hiring. What is it, how do you guys, during your hiring process, what are you exactly looking for? How do you kind of go through the hiring process when you're bringing a VA onto the team?
yeah. When we look, there's two sides of it. You have to know what you're looking for, and then you have to know where to look for it, right? I mean, you can shake trees and you can say prayers and wish that they show up to your door, but it goes to both sides. So you need to be clear. What's that skill set? And what are we looking for? We're looking for, some basic intelligence, but life intelligence. We don't need someone Mensa. We need someone who is, will say, hey, I understand. I'm mature enough and I know that I need to show up every day. I'm willing to give that work, have a great attitude, and have high initiative. And now, are you a good communicator? Can you
Mhm.
speak? Can you write? Can you build relationships? Are you customer service oriented? That's what we look for. And after we've been doing it so long, I'm from the educational field. Pete's been, Wall Street and in business, all his life. We kind of know those people. And, quick interview, we kind of know who we're going to look forward to kind of put through our training program. And only the best stay with us.
Right.
And then where do you look for them? You look for them from colleges and government programs where they're training people to get into the workforce, or colleges, look for internships and mentorships. And we provide those. So it's a win-win. We're giving back. And then hopefully, hey, they get a job and we have a great VA to service our clients.
Mhm.
Right, got you, got you.
Mhm.
Now, one thing sort of I've realized recently working with VAs is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I, I am starting to find that when I work with a VA, that one of the key things that has made our sort of working relationship really work well is consistency, having them show
Mhm.
up every day, even if
Yeah.
it's a few hours, versus I think a lot of people are hiring VAs on an as needed basis,
Mhm.
and sort
Hmm.
of sporadic here and there, and here's some work, here's some work. What do you guys sort of have to say about that in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's great. You'll never feel as good with a VA as one that you have consistently. So you may have somebody who is working for you up to 10 hours a week and sporadically, like you had mentioned, and don't necessarily get to know them because you talk to them and then they go away and then they'll do something and then you'll talk to them and say, I need this done. But what you really start to go as you grow the business, and again, this is all based on your revenue meeting the needs that you have in order to outsource. But when you have someone who is dedicated to you, who is working maybe 20 hours a week, or every day from 10 to 12, they're always available to you. Those are the things where you really start to get to know somebody. You really start to have a flow with them, and you have expectations. The expectations are a little bit better than if you say, well, I want you to do this over the next week, and I'm working with you for 5 hours a week, because they also have other things that they're going to be juggling, whether they're a part-time VA or if they're juggling multiple clients. But it's important to note that you want to start where you're at. Start with where your revenue is today. You may only be able to afford a certain amount, and it may only make sense to you to have a certain amount. So having that ability, but with the ability to grow to a dedicated VA, is something that's really powerful.
Yeah. Just it's also that relationship. If we treat it like a side hustle and we treat people as part of a side hustle, they're going to treat us like a side hustle, in a very nice way, not to be mean or either way. But, if you're serious about your business and you're going to grow it, start a relationship, promise enough hours, and then start feeding that person, start relating and grow that relationship, make them part of your process and part of the team, and you'll have them for a longer time. And, in our situation, you get married sort of to our company and our services, and you kind of can grow with it. Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think there's one thing you just said. I now it just jumped out of my head, but yeah, having them sort of consistently there. Or I think you said promising them hours. Yeah. I think guaranteeing them hours. It does set a level of expectation. I didn't really learn this until recently. We've got a couple sort of more full-time VAs, and I'm bringing on a new one here, and guaranteeing her hours. It's forced me to really sort of get consistent with them, get processifying with them, because they're always showing up, and really putting myself in that mindset rather than, hey, I'll give you work when I need it. So what about someone who's just, again, let's come back to this, who's just starting out though, they may not have that much work for them. Right. What would you suggest? Should they perhaps buddy up with someone, or, just slowly, like, how do they increase that hours? How do they still establish a relationship if they're just not fully there yet, though?
But I think it comes down to the ability to communicate well with your VA. I mean, there's different types of services that can be offered. We have different packages of hours that you can get a VA for a certain amount of hours, that you just buy hours and you're able to use them as you wish. With the ability to grow toward a dedicated when you're specifically going that way. So when you're limited on your funds, you need to be judicious on what you're going for. So maybe you shouldn't be going after the entire intake process, for instance, intake management. Maybe you should be just focusing more on what's the major pain point. Maybe it's your mailing lists. Maybe it's your Facebook marketing account. Focus in an area that's going to give you a bang for your buck, and then grow from there. But I think that's really what you have. You don't want to be so broad that you're saying, okay, I'm going to use you for 3 hours a week, and I want you to do everything. You're never going to get a good fit there.
Right.
Yes. Start with an hour package that fits you and fits your business, knowing where you want to go. And you're working with a VA or a team of VAs, but it's the same company, it's the same team that will then grow with you. And then when it's time, you get a dedicated one, and that's great. You could grow into it.
I totally agree with that. And starting small too. I think there's a lot of investors who want a VA to handle multiple roles, and if you're able to get an arrangement where they're focusing on one thing, that allows you to establish that relationship, get an understanding of their workflow, and so on and so forth. I think starting small and then sort of growing from there. So yeah, I totally agree with you guys. Now, here's another question: is how do you keep your VAs engaged, and motivated? They're doing a lot of times, very repetitive tasks.
Sure.
how do you, other than monetarily, right?
Mhm.
What are the, other things you can do to sort of, I think encourage them, treat
Mhm.
them like they're part of the team, even though they're not always there. I think a lot of
Right.
people lose sight of that sometimes, and they're there.
Right.
Here's work, go do it, type of thing. What
Mhm.
do you guys sort of have to say to that?
Inclusion, communication, acknowledge that they're a vital part of your team, even if it's for 5 hours a week, even if it's 3 hours a week, that one chore, that one task that they do is vitally important. You give them feedback, you continue to show them more, you help with their improvement. That helps with self-esteem, and you include them as part of your team instead of
Mhm.
someone you just write an email to,
Yeah.
and then if there's something wrong, you talk to them when
Right.
things are going well, find them being good, and
Yeah.
then say, hey, how we could make it better. You improve people's skills, you treat them like you want to be treated, and
Yeah.
include them as part of the team, and they kind of look forward to that engagement. Mhm.
Right. To add on to that just quickly, what ends up happening with your VAs is sometimes we say, oh, your due diligence, it's like a black box, right? I need due diligence. It goes into the black box and it comes out of the black box. The black box is never in any way acknowledged. So the recognition of what they're doing, what I like to do is give them a bigger picture. Because if I tell them to do due diligence, like let's say I'm getting a brand new VA and I'm training them how to do due diligence. I'll train them how to do due diligence, and then it'll keep on moving on. But unless I tell them a bigger picture of why we're doing due diligence, and by the way, with the fruit of your work is actually giving me this ability to do these other things. When they feel a little bit, when a VA feels a little bit more connected to what the bigger picture is, they have more buy-in, and they're willing to go a little bit above and beyond what just is the rote filling out the due diligence form for you. So it's really that's the relationship, that's the recognition piece.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Awesome. So what do you guys think are probably the say some of the bigger challenges when working with a VA in general?
There's working with one VA, and then there's working with team of VA. Even if you're a single owner, right? You're going to probably have more than one possibly. And it's, how do you manage, and what tools might you use to manage, and there's a few. One, there's the communication tools. How are you going to communicate them with them regularly, quickly, some sort of messaging system, right? Where you can keep track of and kind of, give them, pump them up, let them know you need to speak to them, or let them know a client needs X, Y, and Z. So you need that. It has to be set. The process needs to be clear, and it needs to be duplicatable. And they need to be masters of it, not at first, but as they go. And you have to set that up. So it takes a little work in the front end. Even if the VAs have knowledge of your business, everyone does it a little differently. So what is it that makes you click with this process? And then teach that, put the time in, the communication, and that helps. And then you've learned you need a task management system, and there's a whole bunch of them out there where, hey, this is the task, this is the process, these are the steps, this is what's due on Tuesday, this is what's due on Wednesday, this is what's due next week, and it's in front of everyone, the user, the client, the VA, and whoever else may need to see it. And when you have all those things together and aligned, that's when your VA will be successful.
Awesome. So speaking of tools, what sort of are some of the best tools to use that usually you guys use or your clients use with the VAs?
Mhm. Sure. On the communication side, I mean, there's always email. It's great if you can have a phone call, but we like Slack because Slack is such an instant communication. So if there's an urgent need, that a VA has a buyer who's interested in buying one of your properties, you want to get that information out quick. So things like Slack work really well. The task management tools, there are a number out there on what you can use for task management. There's Airtable, there's Trello boards, there's all sorts of process you can put in place that will manage your tasks. I mean, one of the things I would look to is what is my VA using to track their tasks. Are they making sure that my tasks that are coming in are important enough to get done, and can they kind of point me in the direction of these tasks are getting done so that
Mhm.
they can go through the process. The other thing I wanted to just make a point of is when you have a VA working on your tasks and they're getting them done, the communication doesn't end with the task being done. It has to be repeatable and verifiable that the quality is there. So just like you want your VA communicating with you,
Yep.
if a due diligence comes back to you and isn't quite right, you want to make sure that the VA understands that something's not quite right here. Don't just move away, or you want to get that closed loop to the quality, making sure it is done that way.
Awesome. Now, obviously, you guys have a team of VAs doing different things. So, what are those sort of the more major roles, and how can you sort of segment a team into doing certain tasks? What do your guys' team specialize in? And if somebody is looking to bring on, some VAs, maybe they will mimic the way that you guys are segmenting, or they may work with you, whatever it may be. So how do you guys segment? Obviously, one person isn't going to do everything for you.
Right.
So what kind of segmentation do you guys do within the team?
Yeah, and you grow to this also, but we have an admin assistant VA, so they're going to manage our flow, our workflow, kind of make sure Pete and I are staying, minding our P's and Q's and staying on it, and then they'll have some tasks that are going to be organizing our departments, and then we have our marketing person, where they're focusing on the pre-marketing, the marketing, the overview of the accounts, the land accounts and the Facebook accounts and the Zillows and you name it. They're kind of overlooking that and the scheduling and making sure things get posted and responded to. And then you have the more administrative intake side to take care of process of paperwork and the closings and the deeds and that behind the scenes type of operations that need to get done. So that's our three main areas that we employ for our success.
Got you. Awesome. Now, coming back to the tool side, if people were to work with your team, you obviously, you guys got packages for hours. Let's say they are going to go on their own for now. If they were, do you guys have any suggestions in terms of a sort of a time tracking tool or task tracking tool to keep an eye on their work and their hours? What do you guys typically suggest?
Well, we like Teamwork is a great product for being able to manage that information. It's a great tool to kind of set up there and have communication back and forth. It's really important, again, that when you send a task across, that it's getting, that it's that somebody's working on it, that it's moving forward, progress is being made. That's a great tool. There are so many out there, but that is one that we've found very successful for. That's one of the ones that we use internally for all of the tasks that are being managed. So it works well on a small scale. It works well on what we have, which is a very large scale.
And that's called Teamwork. Is that right?
That's correct.
And just for you guys that are listening as well, another alternative, I've used Hubstaff before, and it's confusing as heck to me, but probably most people are smarter than me. But there's also something called Clockify, which is another great one, and it starts at a free plan, so that's another one you can definitely check out, which
Excellent.
The team actually on our side uses right now. But let's dive in a little bit about Landva4u. So we sort of talked about where that sort of came from. In general, what sort of services do you guys offer over at Landva4u?
Yeah, pretty much soup to nuts we've grown to now over the last year plus. Starting out with the land list acquisition from the counties, building that mailing list, scrubbing it, sending the mailing out. And then we go to intake, and then having the entire intake process where we can receive the mails or the faxes or the responses. We can respond to them initially. Right. And then talk to the client or the owner of the business and say, hey, where do you want to go here? Do you want to go due diligence? Is this worth it? Kind of go through the script with the sellers, kind of get the information that the buyer wants, finish the due diligence, and then the owner of the needs to then make a decision. Do I want to move forward with this, and at what price? We go back and negotiate. Now, we're not hard negotiators getting up there and kind of drilling people down. We ask for parameters from our clients to offer. And that's what we go forward with. If they want to kind of, do heavy negotiation, they do that. And then once we consummate that, then we go into the closing paperwork. So that whole intake, soup to nuts, which takes so much time, we can do for you. And you become just the decision person. You're the CEO. That's what we try to make happen. Then we offer the pre-marketing. That's getting all the properties, getting the pictures, getting all the basic information, bringing in the due diligence, and creating what we call long ads for land websites and land sites, your website information to get ready, and also to the shorter ads that go into the Facebooks and other media that you will push your ads out to. That's the entire marketing. That's the creation. And then there's the posting and the monitoring, which is so big. You have to have a presence, and you have to let people know you're not a bot responding or someone is going to check once a week. We train our people to respond a few times a day, if not immediately, to get the most responses and to gain the most leads for our clients. And then once that occurs and we get leads, then we place it into a CRM. And there's a number where they can then monitor and then start the sales process. Now, we don't sell land, but we do everything up to where you have that nitty-gritty conversation, are you in or out, and negotiate price. But then we'll also close the land for you with the county, with deed, and all the paperwork on that side. So that's pretty much soup to nuts, but then there's about 100 tasks I just covered in about 90 seconds.
It sounds like a pretty comprehensive operation that you guys have going on here. So there's obviously a lot of complexities there. So tell us a little bit about your team. Well, who are they? What's actually going on? Do they all work in a room together? Are they behind your door there? What does that actually look like? I'm sure a lot of people are curious about that.
That's a great question. So it goes back to our third business partner, Michelle Davis. She's been my bookkeeping firm for over 15 years with my other companies, and she has a team. She's American Jamaican dual citizenship, so she has an entire team in an office building in Jamaica. And we have been growing that team since Anthony and I started working the Landva4u business. We've been growing that team in Jamaica. So they are all located in one office. Actually, we have grown too big for that office. So March 1st, we're moving to a larger office.
Excellent.
And it's been such a great, the people we work with in Jamaica are phenomenal. We get great people that really are eager to work, eager to learn. And it's funny because we have like a due diligence department. In the beginning, I thought I knew everything there was about due diligence, but they know more than me about due diligence at this point. So it's like, you guys take care of it. So it's a great feeling training them and then having them become the experts in those areas.
That's awesome. And a little bit of a shameless plug here, but I know that so I've worked with your team before, and I've worked with training them and answering questions, as they're quite familiar now with Pebble and REI conversion websites, which is always nice. So we get a chance to also direct a lot of our users. Now, let's say somebody is interested in working. They're not sure. They may go their own route. They may want to work with you. If they decide to go the route to explore and work with Landva4u, how does that sort of process go? Like, do I call you guys? Do I sign up on your website? What's the next step that they would need to take in order to get started?
Great question. I mean, the easiest way is to go to our website, and there's a schedule a call. And really what we do is we schedule a 30-minute discovery call to learn about us. Anthony, myself, our supervisor, one of us will be on the call to just give an overview, hear what it is about us, what makes us different, and for us to learn a little bit about the client that wants to come on, see what their pain points might be, that initial project we might want to work about. And we talk a little bit about the packages, the hour packages, or as you go forward to the dedicated packages, we'll go over those pieces, and then it's really left up to them at that point. We'll send the information to them on exactly what's broken down, and if they decide to move forward, we're scheduling an onboarding call where it's one of us. It'll be the supervisor of the VAs, and their VA will be on another 30-minute call to go over the onboarding of that first project, to get everything familiar, to get everyone understanding what technology is needed, what are the best steps. and to allow them to talk about where they might grow. Where, maybe you're starting with marketing today on one Facebook account, but later on you might want to hear more about intake managers. So let's talk about how that might go in the future. So it's very, very simple. It's a short phone call to learn about us, and then it's a very short onboarding call to get everything moving forward.
Is there a time that you guys ever reject clients saying,
It's
hey?
a great question. That's a really good question. And what I would say, what I like to hear is that a client knows their business before we do their business. The worst relationship that we can have is one where our VAs are expected to run your business. That's not what a VA is about. A VA is about supporting your business. So when it's good. We have great VAs who know a lot about the land business. But when it comes to the nuances of your process and what you want out of your business, you need to be the entrepreneur. You need to be the one moving forward. So what we're looking for is someone who has experience in their process. They know what they're looking for, and then our VAs act as support. That doesn't mean our VAs won't offer critical opinion on things. They will, but that's not where it needs to start.
Awesome, guys. I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to really drill down on some of these questions. And I'm also learning about working with VAs and learning about working with your team and getting understanding. And it's been a great journey. And I'm glad that we sort of cross paths here. And great to see a lot of our site owners and Pebble users are also using you guys as well. Now, in order to get started with you guys, if they're interested, they can just head over to LandVA, the number 4 and the letter U.com. Is that correct?
That
is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to keep that in the show notes. Guys, is there anything else I'm missing that you guys wanted to share here on the show?
Nothing other than, hey, it's been a pleasure crossing paths with you and Kevin and our team, working with your team at Pebble and REI Conversion, and more of our customers are using you guys, and we enjoy using it ourselves. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Again, I'm going to include the show notes if for any of the tools that we mentioned on this, and as well as the Landva4u link there. If you guys wanted to check it out and get on a call with both Pete and Anthony, jump on a discovery call, see if you guys are a good fit. I think everybody, especially looking to scale and looking to find more time. Essentially, I always say if it's time for scaling business, or you just want more spare time with your family, friends, whatever it may be,
right?
You will need someone to help you. There are certain things that systems and tools can do, then there are certain things that only still, at least for now, humans still need to be involved in the process, right?
Exactly.
So, anyways, guys, thanks again very much for joining me on the show, and I hope to have you guys back again.
All right.
Pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Jesse.
Real pleasure,
Jesse.
Day. Take care now.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Awesome, guys. Before you stop this podcast or head to the next episode, I want to personally thank you for listening to this episode of the REI Conversion Podcast. If you found this helpful, we'd greatly appreciate an awesome review and rating on whichever platform you're listening to this on. And if you have 2 minutes and wanted to step it up even more and help others, feel free to share this in other Facebook groups or pages or any communities, giving others a heads up of the REI Conversion Podcast or this specific episode that may help them on their investing journey. Once again, thanks very much for listening, and catch you on our next episode.